Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله وكفى والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. Amma ba'd. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. May Allah bless our master, Sayyidina Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, companions, and give them peace. All praise is due to Allah, for he is sufficient for us. Peace be upon his slaves, whom he has chosen. Assalamu alaikum. You're now listening to or watching the Half Your Deen show on Nursman Radio with myself, Samira Abdullah, and my co-host, Imam Naeem, aka the Genius Abdullah. Welcome in the welcome him in the building. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You need to have the sound effects. You know how when they have the applause, you need to have the takbir, Allahu Akbar, takbir, Allahu Akbar. You need to put that in the background. And you said Nursman Radio. We've been migrated from Nursman Radio. We can't hear you. You know, you're supposed to unmute yourself before you talk.
I said this is still Nursman Radio.
All right, man, whatever. Nursman TV.
TV, radio,
Nursman
whatever.
Vision.
Whatever. Walaikum salam. What'd you say?
Nursman Vision.
Nursman Vision? I like that. I like that. Walaikum salam to barakatuh, Brother Isa, Brother
Isa. Abdullah here in the building. Zakaria, my brother, Zakaria.
MashaAllah. Sister Sophia is in the house.
Zakaria, Anzunade, check your WhatsApp.
Don't forget to share, like this video. Sharing is caring. And sharing will also allow us to be more visible in the on the social media pages. So if we show that people care about this show, they watch it, please share it and share it on your pages, share it on your private pages, share it wherever you think it would be beneficial, inshallah. Mashallah. Wa alaikum salam to
my beloved sister, Khadijah.
Sister Khadijah.
Allahu Akbar. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Brother Nadam. Why your mic sound like that? What's up with all that noise?
Trying to do something.
Don't do that.
I did it. What you gonna do?
Making all that
Walaikum
noise.
salam, Nadim and Dawn from the Abdul Jamis. Okay. Walaikum salam, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Abdul Bar. He got the nice long intro. He said, Assalamu alaikum to my beloved Imam, co-teacher, and sister Samira, and my Shehu Maliki 345, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jamaat family. Allah Ta'ala exists without a place or direction. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Mawjud Bila Makan. Allahu Akbar. Yahya Abdul Jami, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my beloved brother. Alhamdulillah. Did y'all share this video yet?
Yeah, did y'all share this video?
Yeah, did y'all share it? Matter of fact, let me go on your page. Hold on. I'm going right now.
Look, I didn't even share it. I'm talking about did y'all share it? I didn't get a chance to share it.
I'm going on your page. I'm going on Issa's page right now. I'm checking Issa. He said he shared it. Let me see.
Yeah, we going on y'all pages. We gonna put cases on all of y'all if y'all ain't got it.
Right? Hold on. Issa shared it. Hold on.
Alhamdulillah. We putting cases on all of y'all if y'all didn't share it. Let me see. Let me call y'all out. We gonna call y'all out.
It's Sophia. Hold on. Sophia. Sophia shared it. May Allah bless you, Sophia. Let me see who
else. Mashallah.
Zachariah shared it. Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah.
Let me see. Alhamdulillah. Abdul Bar shared it. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And all of you in YouTube and Facebook land that didn't make yourself known, share it. Y'all watching it. Y'all might as well share it. Let people know who you watch. Starting trouble. It's all good. It's all love. Because I be doing that too, y'all. I be watching people. And I don't necessarily care for them, but I watch them just to see, just to keep, abreast of what's going on. Because sometimes it's good to check out what your enemy is doing. If you shut them off.
So you be looking at your enemies?
Huh?
So you be watching your enemies' pages?
I be watching whatever it comes up sometimes. Yes, I do. I got to keep up.
Gotta keep up.
Got to keep up.
Okay.
You don't want no surprises. And somebody probably like, oh, who is she talking about me? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. You may not even know me personally, and I may not know you personally. It doesn't have to be someone personally that I watch. But you're my enemy if you're not, propagating the proper creed. You are my enemy.
Go ahead, clean it up. Go ahead.
No. You are my enemy if you don't have any goodwill towards, me personally or my family or my community. You are enemy. So I'm not cleaning it up. I'm just saying. And you don't even have to know me because there's people doing stuff in the world that affects you, And that's why we need to be mindful of what we do. If you're going to be doing something, make sure that it is productive and something that's going to benefit, because you never know how that affects someone. It's like throwing a pebble in a pond. The pebble don't just drop in the water. The pebble causes ripple effects, and they get wider and wider and wider. That pebble reaches distances that you didn't even, would think it would reach. And so we got to be very careful, because on the day of judgment, you know, you're going to be asked about things. And sometimes we be doing things unknowingly. You're like, wow, I didn't even think, have a second thought of the things that I do. So we got to be very purposeful when we do things. When you do good, you ain't got to think about it. Alhamdulillah, my sister, she sent me some tea, alhamdulillah, and I'm still drinking out of it. I'm still getting tea bags out of it. I even shared it with my habibi, alhamdulillah. I'm not just taking it all for myself. He had some as well, alhamdulillah. Sharing is caring, like I said. Mashallah. I got you guys on Facebook and Sheikh Yahya on YouTube. Mashallah. Brother Abdul Rahim, alhamdulillah. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Alhamdulillah. So, Brother Imam, look at your face. Look at your face. Why are you looking like that?
What's wrong with my face?
Because you're like, why are we doing this here? Because you already had the Half Your Deen show on the previous class. It was a whole Half Your Deen show.
Man, they was taking the conversation over there.
Mashallah. It was a good conversation. Necessary conversation.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate for those that wasn't in class earlier before we get into our topic for this evening?
We were, matter of fact, one second. We were reading on page 53 of this book right here. And the Sheikh, Taqammadahu lahu bi rahmati, Ameen. May Allah envelop him in his mercy. Ameen. Uthman ibn Muhammad, known as Danfodio. He was saying this about the scholars that lived during his time and his era. He said what most of the scholars of Sudan or Black Africa do is that they leave their wives, daughters, and servants abandoned like animals without educating them regarding what Allah has made obligatory upon them in connection with the proper belief, the rules connected to their purification, fasting, and other things that Allah has made obligatory upon them. Nor do they educate them regarding those things which are permissible for them, like buying, selling, and similar things. They treat the women, and this is the part where we got into a discussion about, said they treat the women as if they were a pot or some container, which they use until it breaks into pieces. And then they throw it away in places reserved for trash and other filth. And he said, this is amazing. How can they leave their wives, daughters, and servants in the darkness of ignorance while they teach their unrelated students day and night? This is nothing but pursuit of their selfish ends. And so we got off into a discussion about how this society is not normal. And there are a lot of stressors on people in general, in particular our women. How there are a lot of abnormal stresses that a lot of times cause women to have breakdowns. When we say abnormal, we think they're normal, but they're not normal. We just live in an abnormal society. And we talked about how a lot of times because we are disconnected from our extended families and all of these other things, how childbirth is a traumatic experience by itself, right? Under normal circumstances. But those of us in the Western world, a lot of times our women are forced to have children with little to no help or no support. And then even after giving birth, they have to be with the children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no break, no nothing, because it's just them by themselves a lot of times. A lot of times there's not even a boyfriend or a husband around. A lot of times it's just them, right? Literally. And if she has a friend or two, then maybe them, but just them. Now, this is not normal. Family is there to support and take the burden off people. And we start talking about in other places and non-Western places how these natural support systems are still intact for the most part. And the conversation went from there. We talking about how a lot of times brothers are insensitive to what women are going through. Just live it here. On top of the fact of having children and all of these things. Then we somehow got from there to how, how you should choose your husband or wife based upon deen. And we started talking about how a lot of times we marry for other than deen. And then into the marriage, we get upset or we complain that the one we married to ain't got no deen. So I think I summarized it. Did I summarize it?
You did an excellent job.
Alhamdulillah.
Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh. Inde, is that how you pronounce it, sister? Inde Fadi Ba. Alhamdulillah. And Dr. Sabir, wa alaikum salam to barakatuh. Thank you for joining us. It's interesting enough that we were on that subject because given that situation, that scenario about a mother being the sole take care of the children, she doesn't have room to take care of herself, right? And another aspect of that is these I want to have a good opinion. Unknowingly, spouses expect her to still be feminine and be sexy and whatever that they like their wife, how she look and how she act. They expect that even with her having all that going on, and that's not realistic. That's not realistic because you're basically telling her, I'm not thinking about, I don't care what your mindset is. I don't care about your situation physically, how you feeling or anything. You just need to make sure that you're pleasing to me when I look at you. Like I was said in the in class, that carrying a baby and having a baby is like a Mack truck hitting your body. That's a lot of force. But we can handle it.
How you know?
I know.
How you know? You read about it?
No, I experienced it.
I just
6
mess with
times.
you.
Mashallah.
What'd you say?
6 times.
6. Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. So it's not easy. And so your body is always going through changes. I was describing how when you're carrying a baby and the baby is taken from you, taking all the nutrients and, getting all that it needs to survive in the womb, whether or not you eat or not, they're going to take it from you. And then once you have the baby, your breast, well, it's already developing, I'm getting the your body develops the colostrum early in the pregnancy, really. Like your body, your breast is already starting to, soon as you conceive, your breasts are getting ready to be the owners. Well, the baby be the gifts to the baby, right? And so when you have the baby, that's another situation. Like a lot of women, brothers, you just don't know. The first 3 days is like critical for a woman Right, Sister Sakina? You have several children. The first 3 days is crucial. Sometimes the women, they get so sick that they feel like they have to go back to the hospital. They don't have time to be sprucing themselves up. What?
Stop running game. Y'all need to get right back to work as soon as you give birth. We ain't trying to hear all that, man. Like Dr. Sabir said, get that frying pan, Sister Samira, comma, and keep cooking like you was before you gave
But what trips me out, I see a lot of vlogs where the women wearing like makeup before they had a baby, like they're in labor, and they got enough time to put the eyelashes on and paint their face so they can look. I don't know why they do that. I don't know. I don't know why they look doing that, but I'm not thinking about any makeup. Right? Like he need to have a baby and see. But sometimes the women go through so much the recovery, the recovery time, we go through a lot. Like I just think about it. Our bodies, our uterus was the vessel for 9 months or however, everybody has their different time frame when they give birth, but their bodies have been the vessel for that child. Now it's got to get back in shape. Sometimes, not sometimes, but when they're in the hospital, a nurse comes in and massages their uterus so it can go down. And if they don't do that, she can bleed out. Okay? So these are things that we don't think about because y'all say, well, she got it. I'm going to tell you, no, I'm going to include you in this information. Wa alaikum salam to Barakatuh, Sister Leslie. Thank you for joining us. And so,
Sister Leslie in the building.
alhamdulillah. And Sister
Speaking
Zubaydah, too.
of pregnancies and births and all that kind of stuff, quite convenient that she came on right around this time. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
And Sister Zubaydah, thank you for joining us. Sister Kina said her youngest, Suhaila, was 9 pounds, pushing out. Woo-wee! You go, girl. You the MVP. I ain't got nothing on you. I don't have nothing on you. I'm only describing this is because you have spouses think that she just supposed to just get back in her little jeans or whatever little cute outfits and makeup or whatever you like your spouse to look like around the house. You think she's just gonna pop and do that. It ain't gonna happen. It don't work that way. And you need to give her some room, some breathing room to allow her to adjust. Because like I said before, there's a lot of postpartum depression that occurs. And if she wasn't getting the support before giving birth, it's even worse later, where the mother doesn't even recognize the baby and does not have an attachment to the baby. It can get that bad.
Like you mentioned earlier, we know of people who, for example, they just given birth, they in the hospital, and it's like, who's that baby? Who baby is that? What do you mean, who baby? That's your baby. I ain't got no baby, right? Literally. You're muted.
Wa alaikum salam to Barakatuh, Sister Zaneta. Thank you for joining
just
us.
to remind you, Samira, just in case you forgot.
See, we don't need to hear what he got to say. Oh man!
You gonna shut me up like that? That's how we gonna get down?
It was just so convenient.
I was just trying to give you a tutorial. You know how you get a new app or a new device, whatever. They give you the tutorial, right?
Right.
So When the line is through the mic, that's mute. When the line is not through the mic, the little mic icon, it's like a little microphone. You see it, right? Like now, that means it's not muted.
Oh my goodness. So I hear a lot a lot of times that men want a feminine woman. They want their woman, their wife, to exude this feminine energy.
That's right.
Right?
We want femininity coming all out your pores and everything. I'm agreeing with you. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Now, I'm going to ask you this question. What is femininity to you?
See, why you got to get all deep and sophisticated? You just want to, why you got to explain it? You know what it is?
No. I want to know because everybody got their own, definitions of it. Femininity may be like, I go upside your head. Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. That's being feminine. I like it rough.
Oh, I don't know. You got Scooby Doo. I got Scooby Doo on you today.
So I want to know from you.
What?
I want to know from you, what is femininity, or what you get from brothers femininity? Like, what are they looking for?
I don't know if I can necessarily describe it and make a list. I need some time to think about some characteristics, right? But I will give you a funny example of what a lot of us think is femininity.
Okay.
I'll call your attention if you're old enough, excuse me. I was having a supererogatory moment, right?
My finger's right on the trigger. Listen. Go ahead.
I'll call your attention to a movie by the name of Coming to America, with Eddie Murphy playing several characters. The first one, the wife that he was supposed to marry, that was arranged for him to marry, at the last minute when they just popped it up on him, he called her in the back room because he had a different way of thinking than the normal tradition. And he began to ask her questions about what type of food she likes, what type of music she likes. And her answer to every question is whatever food you like, whatever music you like. He said, stand on one leg. She stood on one leg, obedient. She hopped. She hopped. He said, bark like a dog. She began roofing, roof, 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 roof. Right? So a lot of us, that's what we want. Matter of fact, I think I kind of like that.
Oh, Samira, really?
I need some more feminine energy coming from you. Like, what's the actress name who played that role? Vanessa Bell Calloway. I need you to be more Vanessa Bell Calloway-ish in your femininity.
No. That would make you single, okay? No. Now, if one older brother said, is she human? He wasn't picky. Oh my goodness. Now, it is. That is feminine, but I'm going to put a but in there. What real man will want a woman that doesn't think for herself? Because she's not thinking for herself. It's like everything is evolved around him. And that's a lot of complaints wives have when they are in the marriage. They lose themselves. Like, they forget who they are in the marriage because she's so consumed taking care of everybody in the home. And that's not fair to her, because you expect her to be whole, but she can't be whole if she's taking care of everybody else except herself. Just go ahead. What you about to say?
I was going to say, on another hand, because that was answer part 1A. This is part 1B, right?
Okay.
A lot of times when brothers, especially Muslim brothers, because Muslims, we part of the Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We interact normally just by being a normal practice in Muslims. 9 times out of 10, you're going to interact with Muslims from other cultures. Notice I said other cultures, and I didn't say nothing negative about it, because a lot of people believe that you're not supposed to have no culture. You're just supposed to have Islam. That's that Wahhabi stuff again, right? That's another side note. Put a pin in that. Anyway, when we observe women from other cultures, and sometimes it's stereotyped in media and movies and things like this, you find that when married women interact with their husband, they submit, that word that a lot of women don't like, they submit to their husband's authority and leadership. And even if and when they disagree with their husbands, they won't disagree with them publicly. They may remain silent, and they may bring the issue that they disagree with him on up in private and things like this. And so a lot of Asian women, when I say Asian, I'm more specifically talking about Chinese, Japanese, that area, they are stereotypically submissive to their husbands. A lot of black men want that, because black women are known, right, wrong, or different. They are known to be strong black women, and we know they strong black women because they have to be strong black women in this society. Because this society, they're killing the boys and letting the women live. So the women is the backbone in this society by necessity. But even that's breaking down because it's too much, right? But in any case, a lot of times, brothers, we either experience that ghetto love I was talking about in the class earlier, or our women, by necessity, are too strong, in our opinion, and exude too much masculine energy, challenging everything all the time, whatever. And a lot of times, brothers want to break. And so they were like, man, I'm tired of black women. I'm going to marry me somebody from Africa, even though Africa's black. But we know when we say black, we talking about African American, right? Go marry me somebody from Africa. I'm going to Morocco. I'm marrying me somebody from Pakistan, somewhere, anywhere, but black America. I'm going to Brazil. Because a lot of times, brothers, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm just, as we talking about it, my mind is moving. And so a lot of times brothers, to put it another way, brothers feel like, I go out of my home, and just living and existing is a war, is a fight in this society. And then when I come back home, it's another war, because my wife is ready to make war against me, right? Everything challenge, is a fight. And a lot of times brothers don't want to. It's bad enough they got to fight when they go out the home. They don't want to come back home to a fight. And so I think that's a more, first answer 1A was kind of like comedic or whatever. So you asked me about brothers' sentiments, and a lot of times brothers just don't want to fight. I want to love my wife. I don't want to fight my wife. And a lot of times, sisters be ready to fight all the time. And this is one of the things that, I try to always talk and put the energy out there, that a lot of times when we get married, the brothers and the sisters have to realize that, listen, the brother or sister you married to is not your enemy. Y'all not supposed to be fighting each other. Y'all on the same team. But because we've been in this war so long, and each party feels like I'm the only one been holding it down, right? And we forget who the real enemy is, and we turn on ourselves, So that's a long answer. Alhamdulillah.
I agree with that. What you said, but on the other hand, see, you're jumping on the women that don't want to be submissive. First of all, we do want to be submissive. I'm just talking in generality, but we don't trust y'all to lead us. We don't trust y'all. That's what it be. That's where that you know resentment comes from. We don't trust y'all. Y'all got a bad record. I've been dealing with brothers, and it all come to the same realization that they don't know how to lead. They don't know how to be masculine. So I'm gonna ask you that: what masculinity? What does that look like to you?
I think that Allah clearly established what masculinity is and femininity, for that matter. But he said the men are the protectors and maintainers of women, right? And in Islam and Arabic, the term for men is rajul, singular, rijal, plural. And it shares the same root word as the word rijal, which means like leg, like that thing which stands and supports and protects, right? So that's masculinity. The man is the protector and the provider of those under his charge. Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala nisa bima faddalallahu ba'dahum 'ala ba'd. Because Allah has preferred some over others, wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim, and because they spend from what they have been provided. And so the job of the man is to be a protector, to be a shepherd. To quote the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ar-rajulu ra'in fi ahlihi wa mas'ulun in ra'iyatihi." The man is a shepherd in his family and will be a question about regarding his flock, right? So think of a job. What a shepherd does. He protects the flock, the sheep. He's like a security guard. He's like an organizer. Make sure they get where they need to go to eat, right? And he's responsible. Wa mas'ulun. In other words, he will be questioned. By who? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will be questioned in ra'iyatihi. He will be questioned about his charge or his flock. And so a man is someone that is responsible. He's not a little boy. He's not one who doesn't take responsibility for his own actions. He's one like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You need to study the Battle of Uhud. If you study the Battle of Uhud before the fighting even began, and you go back to when they recognized that the Quraysh were rolling up on him, he took shura. He did consultation. His personal opinion was that we should stay in Medina and fight. But there were a lot of Sahaba who didn't participate in Badr, who wanted to go out and fight. They was anxious, to get that rank and put that work in. And so in that particular situation, he took their advice. Now at the same time, Abdullah ibn Ubay and the hypocrites, they had the same opinion as that of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They wanted to stay in Medina and fight. But when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam decided to go out, they used that as an excuse to turn back and not participate in the battle. Now, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked about his opinion, and he told them. And then the Sahaba that wanted to go out, kind of apologize. No. We'll take your opinion. You the messenger of Allah. We take your opinion. We'll stay in Medina. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said no. I'm paraphrasing, put my own words to it, but he said, no, once the Prophet makes up his mind, there ain't no going back. We made a decision, we acting on it. That's a characteristic of a man. A man ain't flip-floppy, wishy-washy. Are we going to do this? Oh, no, I ain't going to do it. Well, maybe, I don't know. No, you get all that out in the beginning. You do your consultation, you do your research, you talk to your wife, you have a meeting, you do whatever you need to do, right? And then when you make that decision, you make it firm and you keep moving ahead. A lot of a lot of men aren't like that. They wishy-washy. They have one opinion. Somebody have a conversation with them. Their mind gets changed. Another person have a conversation with them. Their mind gets changed again. They flip-floppy. They wishy-washy. They're not men. And so that's one of the characteristics of being masculine. And a lot of people think masculine means, he's tough or he's physically strong or he's, proficient at whooping somebody's tail, right? No, that's good, right? But that's not the definition of masculinity. He should have that, but so that's some characteristics of being masculine or being a man. The man, a masculine one, and I think I forgot to mention it. It should be obvious, but in Islam, there's a difference between someone being a male and someone being a man. Because that verse, Rijal Kawamuna Al-Nisa, the word men, right? They say that's a maqam. That's not a birthright. In other words, that's a level. That's a status, right? You're not born into manhood. You have to elevate to a status of manhood. You just because you're born and you male, when we live during the period of trans everything, right? So you just born however you was born and you say, I identify as a man, so I'm a man. No, it don't work like that. It's a level that you have to work up to, that you have to reach. And I just mentioned some of those characteristics that a man has to have. And a lot of men don't have that. They're not accountable for nothing. They blame the woman for everything. They the one made the decision. They the one who chose to marry her. They the one who thought it out. They the one who did everything, right? But if something go wrong, everything's a woman's fault, right? Like I be doing, I be blaming you for everything, right? Right? Everything's a woman's fault. So they're not responsible. They don't take accountability for anything, right? They're not maintainers. They're not providers. They're not protectors. The women don't feel secure around them. When we say secure, we're not only talking physically, but a lot of women aren't secure around their husbands. Number one, because their husband is the main threat. The husband be busting them upside the head physically, right? They don't feel intellectually secure around their husbands because their husband can't think themselves out of a wet paper bag. They don't have no intellect at all. It'll take them 20 minutes to figure out 1 + 1 = 2. I mean, they don't have the ability to critically think and to think out of a situation. They don't feel intellectually secure with their husband. They don't feel spiritually secure with their husband. There's no spiritual protections going on. Right? Just Islam in name only, right? And in fact, a lot of people, a lot of men, a lot of brothers even articulate. They say stuff like, I want a woman that can teach me my deen. I'm like, subhanAllah. Like, that's what women used to say 20 years ago. I want a man that can teach me my deen, right? Now you find brothers like, man, I'm so weak. I just need a good sister that can make me strong and teach me my deen. Alhamdulillah, if you marry a sister that got some knowledge that can teach you some stuff, but you go in looking for a wife, automatically ready to play the back seat. You already, like I used to joke about 20 years ago, you already prepared to say Rabbana lakal hamd. You in the house praying with your wife, and she's like, Sami Allahu liman hamida. And you like, Rabbana lakal hamd, right? She leading you in salat, right? It just, everything is backwards, right? And so, I mean, this is the time period that we live in. And so they don't feel spiritually, intellectually, or financially secure. You got a lot of brothers. We're not talking about the type of brother who has maybe he lost a job. We know the economy is jacked up. We know everything is stacked against the black people and black men in this society. I understand all that, right? But you got brothers who ain't married and talk about like as if they're bragging. It's a boast. I marry a sister. She gonna have to go half with me. Right? You do 50-50. This 2021. Right? She got to go half. If sister want to go half, I don't want her. Right? Wait a minute. You think that's manly? A real man will be, even though he understands, okay, this is a situation, this is what it is, but he ain't going to be right until he's taking care of everything financially.
He going to feel deficient.
Yeah.
Even though he's doing his best, he's still going to have some deficiencies within himself that he got to work harder. Like he'll be motivated to do what he needs to do. And not too many brothers are built like that, you know. And I was looking at the comments as well. Hussein has some words. Let me see here. How he said, I'll read it over here because it's too much. How can you be masculine when it's always challenged by the woman? For instance, most women can't take a directive from a man these days. Their response is, I'm not a child, I'm grown. How can a man lead that type of mentality? Go ahead.
You about to answer it?
No, go ahead. Get your Juma Kubbar. Go ahead.
Did you say Coop Bar with a raw?
Yes, I did. Kubbar. I did. You're going to leave me alone. You know I say it like that. Just like people say pattern and modern.
Pattern?
Yes, pattern and modern. Yes. Okay, so I'm saying Kubbar. Okay, go ahead.
Modern has 2 syllables, not 3. Pattern has 2 syllables, not 3. Right? But anyway, that was a friendly Scud missile for somebody. If you watch it right now, type in the comments, see if you caught it. Right.
That's a comeback from Super Rogatory. Go ahead.
What was we talking about?
The question, how can a man lead this type of woman with this mentality?
You can't. That's a woman I won't be married to. I'm not coming on a fight with you. You know, my actions should be able to prove, you know, the way I conduct myself, the way I try to take care of business. If that ain't good enough for you, then I guess we won't be together.
Sometimes we feel like we have no other choices. We don't do our due diligence up front. And we wait until after the honeymoon to straighten things out or discover. There are red flags that appears up front. Every joke is not a joke. There's truth in jokes. When people joke, you need to pay attention. Like, oh, I'm just playing. No, you need to take that in consideration because that joke is going to be your reality. So when you hear women that says, I'm grown, they're not even qualified. They're not even in the mindset to get married. They shouldn't get married with that mindset that they don't want to be led or they don't want to be obedient, because Allah tells the woman to be obedient. This is not a man's law, because that's how we be treating the laws of, you know, the Sharia. We be treating it like a man made these laws up and it's oppressive and I shouldn't have to follow it. This is what Allah mandated. This is what his Prophet ﷺ, you know, conveyed to us to follow, right? If you don't understand that, you're going to be talking like that because you are ignorant. And I don't mean that in a negative manner, but that's ignorance, that I'm grown. Okay, duh, you're grown. There's a lot of older people that are grown and act like little children. They act worse than adults. I mean, worse than real children. And you're wondering, like, are they serious? No, they have not grown up. And they haven't taken out the time to, you know, take a step back and look at their situations to correct it. So that's just how they are. And sometimes people get older, and when you get older, you don't want to change your ways. When you get older, you got this mindset, this is how I am, set me who I am, or I'm not changing nothing. If you come across somebody like that, tell them, have a nice life, because I won't be in it. You're not losing anything. All you're doing is losing a headache. Who wants a headache? Who wants a hardship? Like I think Abdul Rahim said, there should be sakina in the home. Who want to be fighting all the time? That is not attractive. That is like dysfunctional 2.0. Like, who wants to go through that? And we have to look at the background. How was the home life for the spouses? How was the setup? Was the father there? Was the mother there? Who raised them? Because that is the telltale sign of who they are later. That's their makeup. But we don't want to be in nobody's business, and we don't want to tell nobody our business. We treat Islam like it's a buffet. You pick and choose what you want to deal with. And then the marriage, we treat that like, oh, that's just like Monopoly. It's just fake until I get that paper from downtown. Now it's legit. That paper doesn't make your marriage legit. Them ayats in Quran, that dowry, the witnesses, the imam, or whoever is officiating, that's what makes your marriage, according to the Sharia. That's what makes your marriage real. But if you don't even consider that real, then you get what you get. Let me go through these comments.
I seen Zaneda had a comment question.
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish reading it, but you can read it.
Just got my face all covered.
That's right. You tried to take me off the screen before. I took you off the screen by means of the comment.
I'm reading it.
All right, read it.
As I see some of the comments and reflect, I have noticed that sometimes people project with commentary like most women, these women, Black women, and we'll see things not there, not look at their women and taking in consideration the actual situation. Brother, I'm mad at you because you spent the rent on your new phone or shoes or game, not because I'm a Black woman. I agree with that, because we sometimes generalize and make it like it's for a specific population. Brother, you wrong. Like she made that example. You spent the rent money on some frivolous stuff, right? This is where you lay your head at. But you decided to spend it on shoes or a game. Just think about it. You spent your rent money, and you have brothers that do this, who doesn't prioritize, and they'll get the baddest shoes, the baddest iPhone, the baddest Apple tablet, Mac computer, whatever, just so people can say, ooh, you got the latest? Oh man, I want to be just like you. And your family at home don't know they're going to be thrown out on the street or not. Or he didn't pay the utilities. It's wintertime and they ain't got no heat, so they got to have the oven open to get a little heat in the house. But you got all these gadgets, and you want her to be cool with that. That's not being a man. That's being a boy. Males does that. Little boys does that.
Just like we talked about earlier in class, another description. We talking about masculinity and femininity right now, right? But remember when we were talking about knowledge and stuff like that, we were talking about the principle that the Shehu mentioned, that the obligation takes precedence over the nawafil, the optional. And I mean, this principle, you can see its application in every aspect of life. Now we're talking about husband and wife related responsibilities. A lot of us haven't figured out what's a responsibility, what's an obligation. Put it in religious terms. What's from the wajibat, what's from the obligations, and what's from the optional, the supererogatory, right? What's from the supererogatory?
You gonna leave me alone,
right?
Okay.
So in their mind, because everything is about feelings, right? Hey, if I get kicked out of my house, I'm not going to have an outlet to plug my new iPhone in. So maybe I should get the house first, get the rent taken care of, right? And stuff. And a lot of times brothers don't realize that you are working against and undermining the wife's sense of security. from shut off notice to shut off notice. A lot of times we had it bad and all that kind of stuff, but you gotta grow up out of that stuff, man. You're supposed to see improvement, right? Not digression. Like when you first married your wife in 2010, and y'all was starting out, you had it rough from shut off notice to shut off notice. Getting kicked out, of the apartment. Or when a landlord come, you telling the kids to hide in the closet because they don't know how many kids y'all got, right? right. That was 2021. Who was that? It's the landlord. Get in the closet. You still doing the same thing 11 years later, right? The shut off notice is still coming. Yo, you ain't changed. You ain't improved. What is it about your thinking and your work ethic and your motivation that has you in the same situation you was 11 years ago? Why is no improvement? And why is your wife getting colder and colder and colder and more bitter and bitter and bitter?
That's why. And that's because we allow that behavior. It'd be our fault. You know that he's not responsible and you chose to be with him. So it goes both ways. You say a woman is disobedient and she don't want to listen. It's a flip side to that. You're not being responsible like you're supposed to, and you expect things just supposed to be normal, or you expect her to take up the slack. Like y'all expect these things. I wanted to address Issa comment over here. He said, I think women are innocent until proven guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt, and men are guilty until proven innocent beyond a shadow of a doubt. Can you elaborate on that? What you think about that? What is your intent behind that comment? Because we forget. Let's spell it out. When a man and a woman comes together, the woman don't have to take care of anything. That's not her responsibility. No rent, no utilities, no car note, no insurance, none of that. Do we understand that? When a man and a woman come together, I need to see a response. When a man and woman come together, the woman is not responsible for any financial responsibility. Do we understand that? I need to hear from everybody. I know there's a little delay. Do we understand that? I didn't see any of course. Okay, Rashid said of course. Who else agrees with that? It's a little quiet, y'all. It's quiet. Okay, Abdul Jami said yes. Alhamdulillah. I need some more people to respond. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you're talking about, Issa? Okay. Anybody else? Sister Sakina, I got her ear out. What you say, Sister Sakina? When you come together, the woman is not responsible for any financial responsibility. None whatsoever. Zilch. Alhamdulillah, Abdul. I know you do. The question is, are we in agreement that when a man and a woman come together, Muslim man, Muslim woman, they come together in marriage, that the woman is not financially responsible at all? At all. That's the question. Alhamdulillah, Sister Sakina. I'm going to wait for a little bit. I just want us to be on the same page. Okay, alhamdulillah. Because we tend to forget this. We tend to forget. The Imam just recited the ayat, the Surah An-Nisa, chapter 4, ayat 34. Yes, I agree, my husband. Allah said that the men are the protectors and maintainers of women. That's the proof right there. And he spent out of his means.
But not only that. See, usually when we have these type of conversations, usually the responsibility and everything that falls upon the man, usually it gets restricted to dollars and cents. But if you go back to this book that we're going over in class, right, it's also the husband's responsibility to teach his wife and his children and his family and everything. In fact, the Sheikh said that in the same way that the Islamic leader or judge would force a husband by force to take care of his wife's maintenance if he failed to do so without a proper excuse, right? Even more so, the Islamic judge or the ruler should make the husband educate his wife if he's failing to do that without an excuse. See, a lot of times these conversations, they always go into the same corner, money. That's important. But there's other things that go along with that that's important, like Islamic education. A lot of times we be having conversations, discussions, and all of these things, and you can tell by the conversation that some basic prime foundational knowledge is absent. Because if the foundational information was there, a lot of comments and a lot of things that are assumed wouldn't be assumed. You understand?
That's the point I was making. If she would know, she wouldn't have those comments. If she know, right?
Right.
So that is important. So let me ask this question. How many of your brothers who've been married in past, present, made that a priority of teaching your women, of teaching the sisters? Don't say, well, she already knew Salat. Okay, she knew Salat. Did you teach her anything else of the Fard Ayn? Because it's more than just Salat. How many of y'all made that as a requirement in your household? Made that priority? That y'all have classes on the regular? That she knew certain things? Was that made a priority? Because we don't talk about that. Like you don't hear sisters saying, I'm just saying, it may be sisters, he don't teach me nothing, and I can't stand it. I just can't. I can't deal with him no more. He doesn't teach me. You don't hear that. You'll hear, oh, he ain't giving me this and that and whatever. But never, hardly ever do you hear someone say, a woman say, she complained about him teaching her on the regular. See, it's quiet and like crickets. I expect that. Alhamdulillah, brother Zachariah, that's what you're supposed to. See, we all learning. Alhamdulillah, Allah allowed us to come together as a family, and we're learning what we're supposed to do. Because probably before you didn't know you were supposed to do that.
Because most of us come from some aspect or some influence or somehow, some way been, from misguided directions, like from Wahhabi direction, either outright full 100% Wahhabi or some type of influence. So probably for a lot of us, even the terminology is even new. The Fard Ayn. Probably a lot of us just recently heard that terminology just because of the environment that we live in.
And it's crazy. So there has to be a balance. It's not always about the financial. Like I see people like, I got to pay her insurance, her car note, or whatever. If it's part of your bills, right? And y'all work with each other, like, y'all agree what you're going to pay, right? For instance, the man got to provide shelter, right? Pay the rent, right? No man should be comfortable living up in those Section 8 housing or Habitat for Humanity's housing. I'm just thinking these. I'm serious. They shouldn't feel comfortable. It should make them uncomfortable and say, hey, babe, we getting out of here. Yes, you have this, alhamdulillah, but we need to get our own. We need to get our own spot. You understand? We need to transition from this. So we're not like coming down like, oh, astaghfirullah, you shouldn't know. You start where you at, right? That was a good sister, or that was a good brother. Alhamdulillah, they happen to have a situation. But to be a man, you would not be comfortable staying in that situation. You're going to upgrade yourself.
Sakina, I understand your point, but the wick juice is good though.
What?
100% juice. Wick juice good.
Well, I have an argument for that. Wick is for anybody. For the working person. Don't cover my face. The working person.
Nobody told you to be all low. You like a footer. You know, on the documents, a header and a footer. You like a footer way down there.
I'm short. I can't help it. Subhanallah, but yeah, you shouldn't be, comfortable with that. Now let's break. We talking about finances. You got the shelter. You got to make sure people eat, right? And they got clothing on their backs, right? So, do they have to have the latest red bottom shoes to wear on their feet?
I have a question. I got a question. Do red bottom shoes really have red bottoms?
Yes.
Okay.
And they cost a lot of money.
I know that, obviously that. It just shows you how much is that. So you ain't got no red bottoms.
No, I got black.
You got black bottoms. I guess I'm not a good husband. I didn't provide no red bottoms. I provide black bottoms though.
Abdul Jani said, "What about the cheese? They'll have the cheese ain't the same. That big block of cheese they used to have, it's not the same."
So that was welfare cheese.
Yeah, that welfare cheese.
Wicks up different.
Subhanallah. So we already established financial, right? The intellectual has to be fulfilled, right? Physical too, y'all.
Let me just give you another aspect to understand.
Right? Said black and dirty bottom. That's right.
In the Quran, when Allah describes chaste, right? The English word chaste, 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 right? The Arabic word for that is muhsin. Like Allah says, muhsinat min al-utul kitab. They chase women who were given the book, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at that word etymologically, it's from the word husn. Like, that book of supplications, Husnul Muslim, the fortress of the Muslim. Fortress. So the word for chase has that meaning of a fortress. When you have a fortress, the fortress is meant to keep certain things out and is meant to protect everyone that's inside. The fortress. Think of a physical fortress, a walled city or whatever, with an entrance and you got to check and get permission to come in and go out, right? A fortress. So a marriage is supposed to be like a fortress. I'm trying to give you some imagery. The husband and wife and everybody is inside of the fortress. And there's supposed to be some people that's supposed to be outside of the fortress, and they're not supposed to have access to be able to come in. Now, if you're in a fortress or in a fortress-like situation, it would behoove you to make sure that the people that you're trying to protect in that fortress have no need to go outside of the fortress to fulfill their needs. Make sure they have everything they need to be in the fortress. Because many times when people are in fortresses, people lay siege to this fortress. They surround it with weapons and all that kind of stuff. They can't get in, they wait you out. They try to wait till your food run out. They try to wait till something run out until you're forced to come out, since they can't get in, right? So if us brothers, we are in a marriage, a chaste situation, picture it like a fortress. Now you're married to this woman. You're not taking care of her financial needs. You're not taking care of her intellectual needs. You're not taking care of her spiritual needs. You're not taking care of her sexual needs. You're not taking care of no needs. And you wonder why she always on the outside of the fortress, like, I need help. Right? She's like, where's she at? Oh, she outside the fortress. What? You know what I mean? And it goes vice versa. Vice versa. Right? Brother got needs too, right? Sometimes sisters be holding back the cookies. What's it do? You know your boy, boy Johnson, he said the cookies, right? The cookies. And the sisters always wonder why the brother is in somebody else's cookie shop. So the idea is that you try to make it unnecessary, a non-requirement that anyone will have to go out of the safe confines of their chase marital situation to go get needs fulfilled, because everyone is fulfilling each other's needs. Now, we come from a lot of weird situations. We're not living in a normal environment. We're not a normal people. Our lineage been cut off, Dean taken from us, all kind of crazy stuff, right? We just getting it back. Sometimes these things aren't just known. You have to verbalize and express these things. You have to tell the other one what you're needing, what you're lacking. Communication. You all right there, Footer?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
That's all I got to say. I just tried to give another angle, some imagery, because we always talk about, well, what about the woman? And what about the man? And what about the woman? What about the woman? See, you want to take away excuses, remove excuses. You know, we don't like to be accused ourselves. See, we have to say, okay, my spouse is not acting right. And a lot of times you say, what's wrong? You ain't going to get no answer. Because a lot of times people don't know how to communicate. Sometimes, for example, a woman may know exactly what's wrong, but she may be afraid to say so because she may be afraid of how you're going to react. Mm. So sometimes you have to anticipate. You have to say, oh, well, maybe she's doing this because I'm doing that, or I'm not doing this. And so you have to take away excuses. And I'm taking the conversation someplace else, but that's it. I'm stopped. Before you accuse me of giving a kut bar.
You already gave the kut bar. Mashallah, Juma Mubarak.
So you give the kut bar tomorrow.
That's a great analogy, because I'm just talking in general. Like I said, some of us do not take Islamic marriages seriously. And so it's just like anything goes, and that shouldn't be the case. And so if you are being taken care of on both ends, I'm talking about the man and the woman, not just one-sided, you're not going to allow anybody to come in there and mess up. And you're not going to allow that person that you're with have any reason, like you said, to go outside of that to seek their needs. You understand? Like, you're not taking care of home. Like, it's like pulling teeth to, have things done around the house, right? Sometimes you don't have the skill, right? And you're like, well, I'm going to go and ask such and such. And you know what you'll have? That husband, no, you're not going to such and such. Just because he just don't want nobody in your house. That's not even realistic. You can't do it. I need to seek professionals to do it. You have someone that would allow you to be oppressed in that manner just because it shows that he is weak in that area. You're weak in that area. That's it. That's all it says. And all of us don't have all the tools to do everything. Everybody is not autodidacted. I can't do everything. Even if I could, you couldn't, right? So there's going to be a time that you need to have outside forces in, but that has nothing to do with your ability to lead and protect your family. We be mixing that up. Like it's a sign of weakness is like the worst thing in the world, right? A sign of weakness is that you're not able to admit that you have a shortcoming. That's the weakness right there. Not admitting that I'm not strong in this area, but I'm willing to step my game up. Even with the women too. We be going through that. You don't have everything, but that doesn't make you less than a woman because you don't have that thing. You just, the word slips my mind, but whatever skills or whatever that you're known for
Slipped
to your
your
husband,
mind.
huh?
Slipped your mind.
Yes, that's what you place the emphasis on. Like, for instance, we're talking about femininity and masculinity, right? For a woman, what makes a person attractive, whether male or female? Their confidence. Not because you like them, that's because they are in tune with themselves. That draws attention, a lot of attention. You look like you agree with me. You agree with me? That, and it's not conceit. See, we be mistaking that for conceit. No.
The ones I see, male and female, that have the most problem getting married are the ones without confidence. And that includes the ones who are, what's the word I'm looking for? They overcompensate. They're not confident, but they front like they confident. So they always like, look at me, look at me, look at me. That's not confidence. That's false confidence. You just trying to overcompensate for the deficiency that you see in yourself, right? But somebody that has natural confidence, that's attractive, and other people notice that.
Exactly. We're trying to give you a tip, y'all. Have confidence. Don't be wallowing and stuff. No. You know what happens? Think about it. You overcompensating, right? Like you got everything straight. Once you marry that person, they're going to see the real you. How do you think they're going to think about you once they see the real you? They're going to feel like you did a bait and switch. That ain't the person that I got intended to in the first place. Like, I want that sister because you're not that sister. Or where's that brother? Because you're not that brother. And actually, that's deception. That's why you have to be honest up front. And if it's certain things about you that you may think other people may not care for, how do you know? Don't make that assumption for the other person. Just be comfortable with your skin and making sure that you're upright.
There's a couple of comments or questions that I want to get to. I want to go back to Kareem's question. I'm not going to put it in the screen because it's long. It says, I have a question. I never got a straight answer to from pretty much no Muslim. We hear the Prophet ﷺ say, rush to marry, don't delay. We rush and do just that, rush right into it, and really take no time to get to know the person in a serious amount of time before you spend years of your life with them. What's actually a good amount of time in general to actually get to know as much as you can about someone before you marry them? Marrying someone in a month or two, etc. There's no time frame because you got to take into consideration what you know already. Because once again, we do not live in a normal society. We're all we're like a puzzle, and somebody took it apart and just scattered all the pieces. That's what we're like. Where in normal societies, when you want to marry someone, just by their last name, or their family name, so to speak, a whole lot. We don't realize it because, like, what does Johnson mean, or what does Smith mean, or any other normal last name? That's not telling you anything whatsoever, right? But in normal places, the last name is going to tell you tribe, ethnicity, whatever. And then when you get where they're from, then you're going to just by knowing the person's name, you're going to have a whole before you even get to the individual and the household that they grew up in. You're going to get a whole wealth of information about what that family's like and what they're known for. And then when you get to the individual person, it's like, oh yeah, they grew up in this type of household. They come from such and such family. They known for this and they known for that. And the family's real religious. So when just by the person's name, before you zoom in on the individual, you get all of this information. We don't have that here. So we have to take this into consideration because again, our lives are based upon the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so we have to recognize the environment that was in, the environment that we're in, and it's our job to get from here to there, but still recognize that we're still here right now, right? And so there's no cookie cutter, oh, it should be 1 month, oh, it should be 1 year, oh, it should be 6 months. There's no cookie cutter answer for that. I think be honest with you, I think some people, it might be, hey, 1 week. Other people, 1 year. Well, it depends. It depends on the particular individual. And I think that when we're trying to get married to someone, right, we spend too much time getting information that's really not going to have too much bearing on the fact if y'all compatible or not. And so, to answer your question, once you decide that you actually want to marry this person, you know enough, you should get married right away. But when we say the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said rush to get married to someone, he didn't mean as soon as you lay eyes on someone and you see them, oh, Assalamu alaikum, what's your name? What's my name? You like me, I like you, let's get married right now. It don't work like that. That's not what's meant. That's the way we act, but that's not what's meant. Because again, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in both sides of the equation, whether it's from male to female, female to male, said marry someone and you're pleased with their deen and their character. If you don't know the person, how are you going to say anything about their deen and their character? So you got to know something about them first. So once you have that knowledge, okay, I'm satisfied with this person's deen and their character, I want to marry them. At that point, you should rush. There should be no delay. What's the delay for? Even in a lot of Muslim societies where people still respect their family and the family may have goals and aspirations for the young people that's getting married, right? Even in them situations, and they meet up or they want to marry someone, even in those situations, a lot of times they let them get married, but they still go back home and live with their family and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they got educational goals or something like that, but they still get married a lot of times so that they can be with each other and interact with each other without being haram, even though they don't want them living together like husband and wife, even though they are husband and wife, right? You know what I'm saying? In fact, some people are like complaining about it now because in a lot of these societies where they do this, a lot of times the young people will get married, and then when they're actually ready to live as a husband and wife, a lot of times the brother back out. I don't want to be married. I want to marry this other one right here. Right? So, in any case, alhamdulillah. So I wanted to answer that question.
I want to answer it too.
And I think when it comes to marriage, we got to, that's why I don't participate in most marriage conversations on Facebook. Because everybody like, the marriage should be this and the marriage shouldn't be that. And, it's all cookie cutter. What works for you works for me and works for them and works for them over there. It's all the same. That's not life. That's not even realistic. So I don't even waste my time in those conversations. Okay, go ahead. You have permission to answer the question too.
I would think, my opinion, in regards to like how long, I would say, how long does it take for you to find out about her background, like her family background, like how much effort it is to meet with her family, her parents, whoever's, that's around for her. There is going to be some situations where a person don't have family, and that need to be considered too, because then you're going to have to figure out what type of person, who made her who she is right now. Who was she around? And so if you had not met the family, then I will wait until that happens. So if that's something that is like prolonged and such, I wouldn't marry her until that happens. Because a lot of times that right there can be a deal breaker for you. You will know if I want to be dealing with this. Because you may find out that her family is ghetto. Do you want to be part of a ghetto family?
Assuming you're not ghetto.
Yeah, assuming you're not ghetto.
Or you a different degree of ghetto. Because everything is degrees. Everything ain't the same. She could be ghetto, and you could just be just ghetto, which means she's one ghetto, two ghetto for you.
Exactly, like crazy uncle and god sisters hooking up. Some crazy stuff going in the family. Like, that's where she come from. That's her background. You may say, well, she's different. It's the exception to the rule, but that's not the rule. Not everybody that grew up in a certain upbringing is that's their reality. They were able to overcome it. But do you want to take that chance? So you want to make sure that you meet the family more than one time, different scenarios, dinner, going out, just trying to fill this person out, because we should be in the mindset that we are in this forever. It may not last forever, but you shouldn't go into a marriage with this mindset, if this works, or it may not work. You shouldn't go into that. You're not ready for marriage if you're going into it like that. So you got to check yourself, because a lot of times we sabotage our situations because we holding our breath. Okay, I know she gonna mess up. I know it. I know he gonna mess up. That's how we come in there. And it's like, and when it happens, like, see, I told you. Nah, you shouldn't do that, because that thing that happened may not be a big deal because you wasn't thinking of it being, the deal breaker. It's just your mindset. And we be tricking ourselves. And we allow the shaitan to trick us too. SubhanAllah, big time. Let's see here.
Okay, Issa said there are women who have multiple imams and community leaders who pass them off as innocent and oppressed. And I think this means in situation after situation. That's what I was talking about. That doesn't contradict the need to choose better. I agree with that. Sometimes you need to put a GPS device on these sisters of who's their imam, right?
A lot of us men have egotistical egos too big to accept help. And that's for many of reasons, especially Islamically wise, from other brothers. A lot of us aren't truly brotherly without having to make fun of brothers for not knowing or having something.
I agree.
And usually them people that's making fun ain't got it. That's their cover up for something that they're lacking. They overcompensating. So the way to take the attention away from yourself, you make fun or you deflect on somebody else when it's really your reality. SubhanAllah. And that's sad. That's sad. Sisters go through. Sisters are like that too. Sisters are like that too. Let me see. Hussein said, I don't think either side will ever take responsibility and be completely honest. Each side will blame the other for the failure of the marriage.
I disagree because, I married you, Samira, and you acknowledge that it's your fault for everything. You take responsibility for all of the mistakes and errors that happen in our situation. And I really appreciate you owning up to the fact that everything that happens wrong is your fault. You own up to it. So, alhamdulillah.
Whatever, man. A lot of men don't measure up to be leaders of anything. The excuses and being disingenuous, shaking my head. Honesty is out.
Speaking of honesty, My advice to brothers. Well, this advice goes to everybody, brothers and sisters. You have to have wisdom, but at the same time, you have to be honest. Because if your husband or wife finds out later that you've been dishonest, and a lot of times dishonesty takes the form of leaving out critical information. We say, well, I didn't lie. Well, you didn't tell him either. And this is obviously something that he or she would have wanted to have known, right? So you leave out critical information. You don't say nothing with FF. NUFFIN, nothing. You don't say nothing. You just let her go ignorantly believe in some nonsense, right? But then later she finds out the truth. And then she knows that you withheld the truth all the time. How do you think she's going to look at you? She's not going to trust you. Same thing with sisters. It's the same thing. Not going to trust you. You just sabotaging your own marriage. That's your husband. That's your wife. Tell him. Trust me. The telling him or her the uncomfortable truth now is better than letting them find out on their own and then mistrusting you later. A lot of times the thing that you scared to tell him or her may be the thing that they respect you for because you was honest. At least he told me. And I can give a lot of examples for that.
I'm looking at Rashid's comment here. Unless you got another comment.
What, that long book he wrote? You gonna read that whole thing?
That's a football. I already read it.
What did it say? Summarize.
Basically, the woman is not willing to bend, and so she's always butting heads with her husband. And she doesn't listen. She doesn't want to follow. And so that allow her to have no success in her marriages.
That could be true, but a lot of times men don't want to bend.
Yeah. I think men don't want to bend more than women don't want to bend.
Why you say that?
I just wanted to say that.
No, because a lot of times brothers don't realize that yes, you are the leader of the house. Yes, the final decision is yours. But before you get to the final decision and the hearing and obeying part, there's also a part called consultation and seeking advice, taking the temperature, and all of these type of things. And we shouldn't forget that it was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who ordered his Sahaba to shave their heads and slaughter an animal at the battle, at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, right? And they would not do it. They were in shock out of what just happened, before that, the treaty itself. It was shocking to them. And he gave them a command and they didn't listen. Now think about it, this is heavy. When you know how the Sahaba were, how they were serious, how they were dogmatically obedient to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for them not to respond right away, that was major. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to his wife in their camp. Well, which wife was it? I can't remember right now. It wasn't Aisha. I'm thinking Salama, but I'm not sure.
That's the name I was coming up with.
If anybody knows from the Sirah, put in the comments. But he went to his wife, right? And she suggested that you do it first, and then they follow you. He could have said, come on, man, I ain't doing all that. I sat here and obeyed. They should have listened, right? He didn't do it. He took his wife's advice. Sunnah, we Muslims, right? Sunnah, I'm on the Sunnah. Well, this is one example from the Sunnah that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took advice from his wife. Salama Hussein said, alhamdulillah. took advice from his wife, Salama, and he did exactly what she said. And by them seeing him do it, they snapped out of it and they began to do it. Because the husband took advice from his wife, and that husband was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Now, before you made that point, I wanted to say, just because you are the leader doesn't mean that you don't go for consultation with your spouse. Don't make any decisions without them. Get their input, because she may see something that you don't. Because sometimes y'all be having them blinders on, right? But yet she sees things that she may advise. Now, you don't necessarily have to take her advice, but you give her that opening to give you, offer nasiha, right? And like the Prophet ﷺ so illustriously said, adinu nasiha, right? Simple words, adinu nasiha. And the last part of that, because it was like, what sincerity to who, right? What is that, right? The last one was what? Among the common folk, right? Husband and wife. Sincerity, you want good for that person. You want to make sure that whatever decision that I make, that I'm not going to harm in doing that towards you by mistake. Or maybe it is something that you need, and if I go this route, you're not going to be able to fulfill whatever it is that you need to fulfill. So you don't want to, you don't want to stomp out people's, rights. You don't want to, go beyond the boundaries. But you want to make sure that when you make decisions, that we all happy. Because I trust you. I trust to lead you. I trust to follow you. So whatever decision you make, I know it's going to be good. That's what's going to be in your wife's mind. I know we're going to be good, but I'm going to give him a little tidbit what I think. But I know I'm going to be good either way, and that's how you should be, sisters, on your end. I'm going to be good. If you don't have that confidence in your man, I don't know what to tell you.
I give some advice to the brothers. If you got a good wife, a lot of times that advice that she give you, a lot of times a good wife will see through your so-called friends way before you do. Your wife be like, watch that one. That one don't care nothing about you. A good wife. I'm just telling y'all from experience. Y'all can take it or leave it.
I wanted to address something. It'll have nothing to do with the show. Just an FYI. Sophia says she joined this. She said, "Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Joining this side of the world because Facebook doesn't show much activity." I gotta tell y'all a secret. We broadcast on three platforms. We broadcast on Imam Naeem's page. We broadcast on Nurzaman Institute, Nurzaman Radio, right? Institute on Facebook, and we broadcast on YouTube. Most of the dialogue is on Imam Naeem's page. So if you are on any of the platforms, you're not going to see the comments. And it's going to be like nobody's really talking, but they are. So I just wanted to let y'all know, because I noticed that sometimes people saying stuff and they don't think nobody's talking. All the action is over here at Imam Naeem's house. We just put it out there on the other platform just to let people know that we are there. But if you want to...
I got all the grape Kool-Aid over here.
If you want to interact, you got to come on Imam Naeem's Facebook page. Mashallah. So that's why you're not seeing much activities, Sophia. Because I notice sometimes people go to our Masjid al-Mu'min's page. People don't really comment there. You got to come on over to Imam Naeem's page while it's available until they shut it down.
Issa said, "Can I get my marriage record expunged?" My marriage record is longer than yours. Your marriage record is supposed to be your classroom, like them old notebooks that you go back to. When they want to change up and put in the core curriculum and all that kind of stuff, you go back to your old marriage record, and you examine it for because when you go to your old notes, like you go to your old classroom notebook and you find out where the teacher put the red X, you look at the things you got wrong and you ask yourself, why did I get that question wrong? What was I thinking about when I answered that question? What information was I lacking? Or was I rushing when I took this test, right? You use your marriage record as your own personal classroom, your own personal therapist, your own personal history lesson, your own personal psychology course. You use your marriage record for that. Not to examine the other people what they did wrong. Examine yourself. What was you thinking when you made that decision to marry her? What was you thinking when in everything else that happened in the marriage? That's you use that. That's what I try to do. And when I look back on myself, like, man, I was in this mindset when I married them. Okay, all righty, all righty there, all right.
You know what's nice too? I
What's
don't
that?
do it. I'm just saying. A journal, right? Write a journal. And, just write a few entries here and there, over the years to see how much you have evolved and, improved or, you know, uh, backslide, just to see where you at. Because sometimes we be having these false impressions of ourselves. Like we never was able to step outside of ourselves and look from the outside in. And we always talk about that person did this, that person did this, that person did this. But it be you too. But nobody can't tell you nothing because you don't see yourself, you know? And so once you start doing that, that humbles you. And the less finger pointing you do, the more improvement on yourself you start engaging in. Because it starts with you. You can't change nobody. A lot of times we think when we come into a situation, we think, I'm going to change them. You see how the person is and everything. I'm going to change him. Yeah, I got this on lock. Shoot, I'm going to lay this on him or I'm going to lay this on. And that person gets worse.
Or they got potential.
Oh, yeah, they got potential. I know I can, potentially, make this work.
Shaitan had potential. Shaitan was hanging out with the angels before he even had the name Shaitan. He was chilling with the angels. To come out and the command to bow down extended to him. He wasn't even an angel. Talk about potential. Shaitan had potential.
So we have to stop and do some self-evaluation. That will cut down on a whole lot of stuff. Then you'll see what kind of mess other people have to put up with you. And if you're humble enough to admit that, then you'll see your choices of spouses will change. The quality will improve. Nobody's perfect. No, nobody want to build a bear, right? Build a spouse, right? You got to build a bear. Nobody want to build a spouse. No, you got to come with something. But when you come from that point on, we building together. You understand? You're your own person. I'm my own person. But together we have certain goals. But yet I'm still an individual and you still an individual. Don't try to make that person what you want them to be because you're not going to be able to change them unless they want to change. And say they do change, right? Because you want them to change. It's not going to last long. They're just faking the funk. They're going to be like, this is how they want me to be. I'm going to try to be like this, but you can't fake the funk long. It's called your real self going to come out. SubhanAllah.
And in conclusion, as we wind down, I want to advise us to not take shots at our husbands or our wives, especially on social media. When people do that, and you ask any imam, they get it all the time. Like you'll be in a class, right? right? And like say for instance, we also Sunnah World Jamaat, right? So we'll be in a class and someone asks a question, and it's obvious by the question and how it's worded that the questioner wants you to attack Wahhabis. They just want to get it popping, right? So they ask a question. Like, when you do this for a while, the question and the comments, you kind of know most of the time what the person's trying to get at. And when people try to get at their husband or get at their wife, you know, they really only exposing themselves because nobody's forcing them to be together. You still right there, right? So you making them look bad, but you still right there. So you just on the same level as them. And people with intellect, people with firasa, they see right through that stuff. And so it's not good to attack your husband or wife. And I see a lot of sisters do that sometimes. Like they mad, at their husband, what about, if a sister is married to a bum? I'm not talking about me, but, I asking for a friend, right? What if she married to a bum, right? Or what if the sister like this, whatever? I'm not talking about me. I'm just asking for a friend. We know you the friend. We all know, right? And we know how to do the way the questions worded. Some of us, we have to be honest. Some of us love drama. We just don't like it when we're going through it, but we love the drama. It don't make sense, right? Don't like going through the drama, but we like drama. Because we keep going through the same situations over again. You listen to all these people that's complaining about the one they married to. They was complaining about the one they was married to before that. And the one before that. Right? They just love doing it. They love complaining. What's that picture, that meme? Save me, help me. The person's underwater. Then the other half of the water, they sitting on the ground. It's not even high water. It's just their face up there. Help me, save me. That'd be them complaining about their wife or their husband. Help me, save me. No, you just want attention, bro. We got it. You the masculine damsel in distress in your marriage. We understand. we get it, brother. You want attention. You want an intervention. You want to do a Facebook Live intervention, brother. We here. Let's all hold hands, right? The sisters already got it for each other. The sister can say anything, and the sisters be like, "I know that's right," right? You know how y'all women be. I know that's right. Yeah, I had a bum before too, right? Tell him to kick rocks, sis, right? That's an intervention. You just want attention. That's what you want. But that stuff ain't cool. That ain't pretty. And that's gonna be your soulmate 2 days later for that. So stop knock it off. Nobody believes you.
Read this last comment. Posting a comment from earlier that was posted on the other platform. Some male teenagers that have been influenced by the current culture still are questioning the validity of men having the responsibility to maintain and protect women. They have witnessed so many women working and providing for them. They really do not understand the severity of not obeying the law to Allah. That's sad. That's sad. There got to be more examples. Got to be more examples of that. Not just classes, but real examples. Like you see that in motion. See here.
That's why it's so important that, like, if we came from what they call a broken home, that we have the firm resolve to be the one that breaks that cycle in the family. Because again, I keep saying over time, we not live in normal circumstances. There are people more broke than us. Mm-hmm. There are people that are more poor than us in other places, and they don't have welfare, WIC, Section 8, none of that stuff. They more poor than us, and their families are not broken. This is done to us by design, and we have to recognize that. It's a revolutionary act to keep a family together. It's revolutionary to keep a family together, and part of keeping a family unit tight is choosing the right one to enter into that bond with. And so even if you didn't have that example of seeing her, your mother and father together, or maybe it was only your mother, or maybe it was only your father, or maybe it was only your grandmother, you Muslim now, you conscious, You woke, as they say. You should have in your mind, one thing I'm not going to do is do or replicate the situation I came from. And it starts with your mentality. No, it really does. It starts with your mentality. And then after you change your mentality, you're going to change who you hang around. Because you have to understand the people you hang around is the same thing like the food you eat. Like there's certain foods you're not going to eat. Like I don't know about y'all, but for me, I'm amazed, and I don't know why I'm amazed, but I'm amazed every single time I drive past a McDonald's or Burger King or some other fast food KFC, and I see a line through the drive-through out the thing. I'm like, y'all still eat this crap? After all this information, and I know every single thing in those places aren't haram, but I used to be the cable man. And one of the things that I always kept a mental note of is that McDonald's bathroom is always open. So sometimes I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'll just look for McDonald's. McDonald's everywhere, right? And I need to use a bathroom. And I ain't no place where I can use a bathroom. I'm going to McDonald's to use a bathroom, right? I feel dirty walking in there before I get into the bathroom because of the food that they serve. I just feel like, hell, get in here, get out real quick. It's dirty, right? I'm saying that as a parable that when you change your thinking, this is just with food, right? Once you know the value of food and what healthy food looks like and how it interacts with your body and how it makes you feel, you'll be a little bit more careful about what you put in your body. And I'm not just talking about halal and haram. I'm just talking about in general, right? When you change your thinking, there's certain people you don't want in your space. Like, change my thinking. This dude, he's thinking on way lower vibration. Nah, I'm good, right? Because you hang around people that do you us regular, most of us are poor or working poor, right? You know that most of us don't have no rich friends. That's not by accident. They recognize that hanging around us broke folks is bad for their financial health. You know what I mean? So when we have to elevate our thinking, and once we elevate our thinking, we're going to elevate the company we keep. We're going to when you elevate on that level, you're not just going to be ready to marry anybody. You're going to be like, I ain't marrying her. Let the other brother marry her. I ain't marrying her. I don't care how she look. I, just listen to her. I'm not marrying her. Yeah. What you laughing at?
You, the way you said that.
Samira, the mute thing, remember the line going through it?
Sorry about that. I was talking. With that being said, like always, we thank you for joining us and being part of our family. We appreciate you and your input, mashallah. And as always, we hope our goal for every episode is to help us to reflect, do some um, self-reflection or be inspired by something that was said or just get you to thinking, because sometimes there's things that are brought up that you may not even thought of, that may change the trajectory of your situation in some form or fashion. So alhamdulillah, we want to ask Allah to have mercy on us and our families, to have mercy on those that return back to him. And may Allah, allow them to have a good state. May Allah forgive them of their sins. And may Allah, bless us until we are called. Because it's going to happen, as we know. We don't know. So live like every day is your last day. Because people are leaving out of here in droves. And it's not just COVID. just dropping dead, unfortunately. But it's Juma, Alhamdulillah. So send abundant prayers upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And if you're not already in tune on 6:30 every day, we have post Fajr reflections. No, scattered thoughts. Well, I don't know what's called, but we're going over the life of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam right now to get acquainted with him and research to Kaf, mashallah. Send like I said, send abundant prayers upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Don't let Friday zoom by. Friday for me, I don't know about you. Friday be like flying, and you want to sit down, and I don't literally mean sit down, but you want to give time to make, to perform these things. You may be working, going to school or whatever, but try to take some time out to send abundant prayers upon Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because that's an opportunity. Jumu'ah is the best day of the week, and we need to treat it as such and not allow those blessings to slip through us, because it can. I've had it happen, and it's so disappointing. So I'm just asking y'all, don't let Jumu'ah pass by just like any day, like the start of your weekend. No, make the best of your Jumu'ah so that your weekend could be better. And make sure you tune in on this Sunday on the 3453 show at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we look forward for you to join us. If you have youth in your home, if you have Muslim youth in your home that would like to participate, like to do something different, like to be part of a broadcast that is geared to youth, try to get them engaged, please inbox me. If you have, know of any youth or youth that that is struggling in their deen, or youth that is interested in Islam, reach out to myself or Sister Fatima Burke on Facebook, Gigi, Gangsta Granny. And we do have a page, 3453 Show on Facebook. So with that being said, you have any other thoughts, any other words of reflection, Habibi Boo?
May Allah bless all of you for engaging us and participating in this conversation. And I want to end with a request that we all right now recite Surah Al-Fatiha with the intention that by means of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless our brother Abdul Bar, brother Baron K. Shelton, that his wife enter Islam.
Ameen.
That's all.
Alhamdulillah. And alhamdulillah, yep, it does zoom by fast. So subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk wal asra innal insana lafi khusra illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We love you all, mashallah. Please keep us in your du'as.
Bismillah.